Sean Myrie. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, everywhere. This episode is about, right? Because I know about it, Canada hip hop platforms, I guess, right? Canada, let me take people through this history. It's been involved in hip hop from almost the beginning, right? Um, we had Rap City in the late 80s or the early 90s, and we had in the mix what was hosted by, um, what's his name, Master T. And they used to showcase hip hop a lot. Much respect, OG Kicks, and we had much music. But in regards to these today, right? Because if you see in the thumbnail, I have two individuals there side by side with me. What's the Dirt and We Love Hip Hop Network, the host, Friday Ricky Dread. Much respect to Friday Ricky Dread. He's been hosting or doing his platform over 9 years, putting in work. That's a hip hop platform, even though they talk about other stuff now, but they are a hip hop platform. What's the Dirt? He talks about hip hop, but the majority right now is Drake, right? So those two would be the biggest, if you want to call it, hip hop platforms. But my only problem is people who are naming like Six Trenches and Keep Six Solid and Six Buzz. Those are not, with No Face, those are not hip hop platforms because all those Toronto or Ontario platforms, they don't talk about anything hip hop. They might talk about Drake the most. They might talk about some local guys the most. But when it comes to the culture, like whatever's going on, like the recent hip hop albums that's been coming out, I've never seen any of these platforms since I've been on the internet or been on YouTube or Instagram talk about hip hop. There's nothing hip hop about majority of these Toronto platforms. There's nothing hip hop. Hip hop is the culture, is how you live, how you think, how you dress, and everything. It's more than the music. So, in regards, right, because I seen Friday, much respect to him, talking about it, a list of top hip hop platforms. He was talking with his cast, DJ Natural, and he was right. He was saying this stuff. He was right about his response. And DJ Czar, they were right with their response. The list that Friday put out, those are not hip hop platforms. Those other guys, I think they're Italian guys. They do cover a lot of hip hop. I forgot what their name are. I don't know if it's NPR or NRP, but they do talk about hip hop. But I didn't even know that they're Canadian. Right? You notice they don't even make people know they're Canadian. What's the Dirt? Now people know he's Canadian, but in the beginning, I didn't even know he was Canadian. A lot of certain platforms are people who are from Canada, uh, and they're in that space. Sometimes they don't even let you know that they're from Canada because then people are going to question that if they're really part of the culture. But talking about Drake, majority of the time, is not hip hop. I just got to say it again. Talking about Drake, and I talk about Drake too, but talking about Drake is not hip hop. He does rap, but talking about Drake majority of the time on your platform is not hip hop. I want to hear about the latest albums that are dropping from the culture, which no one's talking about. Nas came out with released on his album. I mean, not his album, his label. A whole bunch of artists albums recently. Slick Rick, no one's talking about. Ghostface dropped two albums in the last year or so. Um, the list goes on. No one's talking about it. And if you want to talk about even other platforms that are doing hip hop, I don't see no one talking about Joe and Jada, their latest guest, what they had on their platform, right? I don't see no one talking about the Real Report that you have Tony Yayo and Uncle Murder on. Anybody who's coming on there, like Gunplay is coming on there soon. My point is, Canada has limited platforms in regards to hip hop. There's something called Hip Hop Canada, but it's a site. They don't have no face. We're talking about faces. We're hip hop. You don't need to be talking constantly about something like hip hop to be hip hop. Me, my brother, for D2E, we're hip hop to the bone, to the basement. We are born in this stuff. So, but we're not gonna get the flowers because we don't have, a Drake co-sign. We're not kissing Drake's ass straight up. We are not. Let me say it again. We are not kissing Drake's ass, right? So, I guess we don't count as a, I guess, a hip hop platform, even though people are saying Drake's not even hip hop, right? So, what I'm talking about is not too popular because what I'm saying is we basically don't have any hip hop. Well, I'm going to say, in regards to respect, We Love Hip Hop is a hip hop platform, right? What's the Dirt? He's a hip hop platform now, right? We're a hip hop platform. But all those other ones, Respect Friday, they're not hip hop. In the Trenches, Keep Six Solid, all of those, whatever, Toronto Patriots with no face, that's not hip hop. Some kids behind the screen, you don't even know who they are, you don't see their face, and most of the time it's bullshit what they're reporting. They're not even talking about any albums, they're not talking about anything what's going on in the culture, right? So, how big are these hip hop platforms really? Because you could see by, like, by the view count, right? How big are these hip hop platforms in Canada really? The only ones, like I said, is What's the Dirt, right? We Love Hip Hop, us, and the other guys who, Friday has beef with, or they have beef with Friday. You know who I'm talking about. Those guys talk about hip hop. They talk about hip hop, like it or not. They talk about hip hop. Those guys who Friday has beef with, he knows, right? But hip hop platforms, the list that maybe he's trying to cook something up. Friday's trying to maybe stir something up. Though that list he put out, none of those guys are hip hop. I don't care about QDC or whatever his name that he had Drake on the platform. He had one person on his platform, and I don't think that guy's not really into hip hop like that. He had Drake. Having Drake on the platform doesn't make you a hip hop platform, right? Most of these platforms, besides us and We Love, they don't interview artists. We've interviewed tons of hip hop artists and some legends. We're hip hop, but we're not gonna get that cosign, or we're not gonna get that love because I think people are scared of us. 100%. Every platform, a lot of people in Toronto are scared of us. You know why I know? We haven't been invited. Never been invited. I'm not talking about like a live. We never been invited, which we don't give a shit anyways. But this is an example. I'm saying it. We never been invited to any platform really in Toronto, and we've been putting on the city, actually going to events and showcase where hip hop artists perform. We've been interviewing these underground artists month after month. We're doing it next Friday. We've been doing the culture, but we don't get no respect because we don't talk about ops. We don't talk about the bullshit what's going on in the streets. So we're not hip. We're hip hop. I can't even put that in my vocabulary. We're 100% hip hop. I have two older brothers. I could tell you history about hip hop without Googling. I don't need to Google. I don't need to look on a laptop to tell you about hip hop. I remember when Toronto had no one on the charts for hip hop. The only guy was like Maestro and Mishi Me for a good while until like the mid 90s came, and then we had Chalklear, Socrates, Cardinal Official, and a whole bunch more. Ghetto Concept, right? So back then we had a hip hop platform. The 90s, we had a strong hip hop platform. It was called Rap City. You remember Rap City? And if you want to call it hip hop, because he did cover a lot of hip hop, but other music in the mix with Master T. That was a hip hop platform too, because they had many MCs come through there from Canada.